Namaste, beloveds. This is Valerie Ames, aka Mother with Wisdom, and this is another impromptu video. And this particular video, beloveds, is just so powerful in its message, in the reception of it, in the transmission, the transformation, and the transmuting of the energy that is going to take place with speaking it out loud and with sharing it. I want to preface it or pre-frame it just a little bit. And beloveds, to really understand how I'm being led, where I'm being led, and where the depths of the well of inspiration of the information and how it comes and flows, you would really need to observe my Facebook page, Valerie Ames, to really get a good foundation and understanding of who I am, what I share, what I've been doing for all these years. And basically, I've come to the understanding that as existence, observing my own existence as a, how can I put this? As a mirror. Perfect. As a mirror, to not only hold the image, but to also reflect the image back and allow that image to be interpreted, intuited, observed, perceived, taken in. And I'm just going to get to it, beloveds. I titled this particular video, The Disintegration and Elimination of White Privilege. And beloveds, let me get into exactly what I'm speaking of. When I say white privilege, white, I want to first break down that word white. White, the color, the symbolization, the signature of it was born from black, from darkness, from the most fertile. I want you to understand these frequencies. My previous videos, I've spoken of the ultraviolet rays, okay? And so now we're going to get into this white ray, this white frequency, this white what's the word I'm looking for? Aspect of existence. There we go. Perfect. This white aspect of existence. Okay? Not just from the skin color of the white human being, or what we consider the white race of human beings, but the mindset, or the mind programming, or the mind control, or the mind matrix system of this white supremacy, of white needing to separate itself from the wholeness of black, okay, all that is, needing to be separate, needing to be its own essence, needing to be its own aspect of existence, expressing itself, okay? So this video is going to speak from that perspective, from that foundation, and I'm going to build upon that. And let me just get into what I wrote. Oh, before I begin, the title of this, The Disintegration and Elimination of White Privilege, is designed to not only examine the structure, but to break the structure down, to destroy the structure of white privilege, to replace the structure of white privilege, to fully understand how it's been put in place and what it has done to humanity, what it has done to the planet Earth itself, what it does to our many bodies, our multiverses. When I say our many bodies, I mean what white privilege has done to the mental aspect of our ability to identify and know ourselves as human beings. White privilege from the aspect of identifying our feelings of good and bad, good and evil, judgment, shame, acceptance, affirmation. White privilege being the mirror image to compare and to compete, to be used in that manner, to be set up to be used in that manner. Okay. Next, white privilege in the physical body, location. White privilege being, what is it? The lighter, the righter you are, the whiter you are, the mightier you are. You know, no matter what race you are, no matter what ethnicity your human being is an aspect of, the lighter your skin tone, the higher up or more elite or more superior you are seen to be, even amongst the white race itself. Blonde and blue-eyed, the fairest of the fair, is the top of the hierarchy. So I want you to gain perspective of everything that I'm saying and understand that I'm being spirit-led to say these things. And all of this is coming from my 56 years of incarnated life experience and observations. It's also coming from the deepest Akashic records and remembrances of being in both positions. The position of the white supremacy or white privilege, or that higher frequency thinking it's better than everybody else, to the lowest comparison thinking you're not good enough because you're not privileged enough. You were not incarnated into that. You did not receive the gifts of this privilege. So thus you are less than. You are meant to serve. You are meant to, as a slave. You are meant to be a beast of burden, to carry the burden of this white privilege being inflicted upon your different bodies, your mind, your feelings, your thoughts, your physical awareness of yourself and identification and acceptance, and also your spirituality. Because you're a sinner, you're not good enough, you're stained, you're unpure, you're no longer innocent. You've lost that. So as you can see, beloveds, this is a very, very deep subject, but let's keep delving into it. And I made just 4 points. And the first point is the privilege of designing boxes and labels, then branding them, then tipping the market regardless of the unbalance caused for profit and feeding the addiction of being better, smarter, richer. And then the shaming, the judging, the criticizing, the domino effect you caused, injecting hormones, GMO pollution based upon the greedy, sadistic mind and the masochistic self-identity of superiority and privilege. Now let me break all of that down for us, beloveds. Those were just my talking points, and I just wanted to put them out there. The privilege of designing boxes and labels, and the privilege of designing boxes and labels, okay? We'll start with that. Human beings put themselves in the position of God, in the position of judge, judgment, executor, all of that. When you design boxes, labels, standards, and stereotypes of measurements, you have to be this height to be beautiful. You have to be this color to be beautiful. Your eyes have to be this shape and this color to be beautiful. Your bones have to be this degree of asymmetrical to your nose and to the placement of your mouth and the spaces in your teeth or the lack of. Whether you have a neck or whether you have big boobs or small boobs. Whether you have a big butt or a small butt. Whether you have a waist or no waist. Labels, boxes, expectations that you cast, that you throw upon people to capture them, and they have to fit into those roles in order to be accepted by you as what? Good enough to be around you, one of you, a clone or version of you, a clone or version of your values. They have to see what you see, the way you see it, how you see it, why you see it, when you see it, where you see it, or else they're what? They're wrong. They're being uppity. They're a threat. You've got to put them in their place. Because you have the privilege of designing the boxes, designing the labels, designing the brands, designing what is popular and what is unpopular, focusing and fixing the trend. For what purpose? And not just dollar bills and coins, but your own narcissistic pats on the shoulder and you're better and you're the highest and you're the greatest and you're the most privileged. And, is this taking you to Maleficent and Mirror, Mirror on the Wall? Who's the most fairest of them all? That's white privilege. Tipping the market regardless of the unbalance caused for profit. A while ago, some years ago actually, I posted about the movie with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, and the two very rich gentlemen who bet $1 that basically, because of their white privilege, they could cause an experiment to happen, upending the lives of these two people, just taking control of it and manipulating the hell out of them, causing them to think and to turn upon their own values based upon white privilege, based upon the rules, the roles, the bottom line of white privilege. And you see the way the movie, Jamie, not Jamie, yeah, it's a very good movie. I forget the name of it right now, but I'm sure you know it. It came out in the 80s. Beloveds, there are so many examples of what we do to each other as human beings in order to get that fix, that dose, that hit of white supremacy, of white privilege. It is more addictive than crack. It is, what is it, the breakfast of champions, so to speak. It's not for everyone. It's a lifestyle of the rich and famous. It's where you sell your soul in order to be immortalized in the image of privilege. And it doesn't matter if you have to destroy the whole earth. Doesn't matter if you have to commit genocide. Doesn't matter if you have to cause child slavery. Doesn't matter who you step on. Doesn't matter who you hurt. Doesn't matter whose life you ruin. Because your privilege is being upheld. Your privilege is the main focus. Your values, your views, your world that you created. Your paradise. Your heaven upon earth. and everyone else suffers because it is an unrealistic endeavor. It is a very immature learning process. This is the tip of narcissistic behaviors, narcissistic beliefs. It is the foundation of it. And we have to, like I said in the title, we have to allow it to disintegrate in order to eliminate it. We have to break it down bit by bit, cell by cell, philosophy by philosophy, example by example. We have to be able to understand in order to bring a reckoning, in order to be reborn, in order to recreate balance, in order to reestablish ma'at, universal law, from ground zero, uninfluenced by white privilege, by the separation, by the duality of existence. Tipping the market regardless of the unbalance caused for profit and feeding the addiction of being better, smarter, richer. Market, stock market, money changers, taxes, governments, religious leaders. The disintegration of white privilege has to begin in those arenas. It has to be found. It has to be exposed. And it has to be dealt with. It has to be removed. Because you cannot say by the people, for the people, and for perfect unification or union when you're not dealing with the whole. You're only speaking of the privileged few, maintaining their privilege upon the backs of what? The underprivileged. Isn't that how the current tax system exists? And that tax system came from all the civilizations prior to this one. And all those civilizations collapsed. But yet we brought forward this particular white privilege. The sense of the white being the highest, being the best, being the untainted. Yet in this white is the bloodiest, most violent, most lawless, wickedest, conquering, plundering, pleasuring, taking, narcissistic MFs that can be birthed, that can be created, that can be produced through this system of white privilege. And that system is an education that begins from birth. And if you look at Joy Degrees, A Book of Slavery, and White Privilege, you get to weigh, you get to really observe the different freedoms that exist within, without, and around white privilege. And you get to understand why the marketing of it, why the elitism of it, only the best, the cream of the cream. You have to be initiated into this. You have to be accepted into this. You have to be of a certain pedigree. You have to come from a certain place to fit into the doctrinization, to carry out this legacy, and to continue it. You have to be stripped of certain aspects of your humanity that you incarnated with in order to be indoctrinated into these boxes, labels, sizes, aspects, and desired look, desired lifestyle look. Even if it's just on the surface, you have to maintain that look. Doesn't matter what's deeper, just the facade, just the surface has to be pretty and smooth and pristine white, and, doesn't matter if it's decaying and diseased and cancerous underneath. As long as you put that smile on it, as long as you whitewash it enough and keep your skeletons buried, you're good. You've perfected your presentation of white privilege. And everyone looking on will be so in awe of your ability to maintain your lives, your narrative, your labels, your descent into hell, colored as heaven. The shaming, judging, criticizing, and the domino effect caused. Last night I posted a post. I reposted it, and I put my little 2 cents to it. And basically it was about some mannequins. And the mannequins were headless male, older male or a softer male bodied mannequins, because every size does not fit all. And the particular person that presented their opinion felt that, and this is just my interpretation of what I came across. They felt that society as a whole is creating or pandering to soft males, soft-bodied males, males who are no longer warriors, males who are no longer sexy, males who are no longer fit to lead because they are not on they've lost their edge, and their edge is that of the outlaw warrior. Now, ask yourself, beloveds, what is an outlaw warrior? What image do you get from the pairing of those two words? Immediately what came to my mind is the conqueror, is the caveman, is the most animalistic, most violent, survive any way I can mentality. And this was a woman that wrote this. And this, I guess, is the type of male that she prefers, or that she can, as she put it in her piece, she can get behind. She can get behind that kind of man, that kind of male, that kind of energy, that warrior outlaw archetype. And that may be cool for a lot of women. A lot of human beings may put themselves in that role in order to satisfy the mental need, the emotional need, the physical need, and the spiritual need that comes from that existence exists. My point is, don't push that on everybody. That don't fit everybody. And not everybody is going to align with that. And when you have these kind of expectations and generalizations, that's white privilege. And you need to check yourself. You need to recognize what you're doing. That's discrimination. That's discrimination. And they say, well, I don't want to fat shame. You're not just talking about a person's body size, or whether their body is soft, or whether it's hard. Beloveds, you're shaming the very human nature of that being for not fitting into your narcissistic, privileged box. Now let me break that down, okay? Diversity is a wisdom's gift. Uniqueness, individualism is what makes the collective work. If everybody looked the same, thought the same, functioned the same, you would have artificial intelligence, you would have robots, you would have machines, you would have an autonomy that is monochromatic and monotonous and unable to produce anything other than itself. Nothing creative, nothing original comes from that. It only multiplies, imitates, and duplicates. I don't do this video from a place of judgment. Again, I do it from a place of observation, like I said. And at first I was just going to leave it alone because of the fat shaming and me being fat and having been fat all my life, and saying, well, Valerie, you're just taking offense to the words, to the way it was written, and to the picture of these headless masculine males with their little breasts and their bellies and the softness of them and the emasculation, that took place. And then I said, no, 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 no. I have issue with the analogies. I have issue with the essence. I have issue with the premise of judgment, with the premise of white supremacy. I design the boxes I design, and if you don't fit into my box, then you're not good enough. And all of you off with your heads because you're supposed to be hard-bodied, outlaw, warrior, conquerors so that I can stand behind you. And if you're not, then you're not good enough. And this is what society is doing to you. They're taking all of the hard-bodied, conquering, outlaw men away from me. What are you going to leave me with? There's going to be no one that I can stand behind or lie under. Now, from the divine feminine Lilith point of view, okay, in my Akashic records, in my memories, in my genetics, I am more inclined for the matriarchy. That is what I get behind. Because that gives birth to change. That gives birth to structure. And is based upon unconditional love. And it does not give a damn about the appearance. It is more aware of the integrity and the content of character. Because, like I said, I have memories of women who rode upon elephants and met Constantine and had him turn around. They didn't stand behind any man. They didn't support outlaws. They supported integrity, family values, fairness, unconditional love as an identity of the individual as well as the collective. There was no need to conquer. There was no need to plunder. There was no need to eradicate, steal, molest the mental, the physical, the emotional, or the spiritual. In order to profit from, in order to maintain your sense of privilege. Again, I'm not trying to attack this individual. I am simply shining a light on the privilege of her thinking, where it comes from, what it's based upon, and why she feels that it is so necessary to maintain it. And I want to just bring some things further closer into this, beloveds. Like I said, this white privilege creates the boxes. It designs the boxes. And then it demands that everyone fits into the boxes. And then when you don't fit into the boxes, then you are criticized, you are judged unworthy. So that what? You spend more money so that you can trim yourself or get all the accoutrements so that you fit into the box. Hormones are put into the milk. Hormones are put into the cows. Hormones are put into the chickens, so that into the turkeys, into the vegetables, into the ground, so that they produce outside of their natural cycles, sizes, shapes. Because white privilege wants the best, the bigger, the faster, more money. So we've got overweight turkeys and overweight chickens and drums and thighs and you got human beings now, men, boys, women who are more breast heavy and everything. Because why? Because you're pumping hormones into the food system. That's white privilege. Okay. So that you can profit from it. That's white privilege. And then you judge those who are affected by the injections of the hormones, what you did to the natural cycle and season, how you sped that up. Then you want to judge the human being that is affected by it. And so now they have to kill themselves and work harder and do this and do that in order to fit into your pristine white little box, while you yourself, you don't eat foods that have been injected with hormones. You know? And then you set up different categories and, oh, this is organic. This is part organic. But your stuff is grown on in pristine, archaic conditions. The meat you eat is not shut up with hormones. Those cows, those pigs, those animals, they ate the best of grains. They drank the best of water so that your body can be privileged and benefit from your privilege, while everyone else decays, becomes fat, becomes outlaws, becomes hopeless, depressed, sluggish, slaves to the rhythm that white privilege has put in motion, because it is addicted to the competitive role that has been designed for it by a very sadistic mind and a masochistic identity that needs discipline me. I will serve you, mind. It doesn't have to make sense. I'll serve you anyway. Because I need the identity to feel as though I'm privileged. And you do that for me, mind. You give me all that I need. And my thoughts whip me in shape. Keeps my body hard. When I'm cruel and evil and mean, I get over it because I'm superior. And they needed that. They needed me to be superior to them in order for them to feel validated and whole. That's their role. That's their karma. Do you realize the pollution that we have caused, that we have forced into all of our bodies? From the concept, the theory, the philosophy, the knowledge, the logic of white privilege. White privilege being separation from the whole. White privilege being separation from the collective abundance, richness, darkness, fertileness, cosmic womb. To break into fragmented rays, abstract thoughts. Moving on to the second point, beloveds. Changing the landscape from wildflowers, Paradise Eden, into a surgically sculpted, color-coded, leaving it better than I found it mentality. The judgment, the arrogance, the unapologetic superiority complex of a privileged, indulged mindset lifestyle. And this came to me because of a mirror. And it said something about leaving it better than you found it. We don't litter. We leave it better than we found it. And it showed a beautiful picture of this sculptured garden. And it didn't sit well with me because I'm like, well, what are you saying? That's I know it's sarcastic, and I really am not getting the message. Is it really so over my head? What is the point of this? What is this saying, Spirit? What do you want me to see from this? Why did you show me this? Why did I need to hear this? What is it that I need to observe? And I'm looking at all these flowers, all the hedges cut and all the rows and the colors, and just like a beautiful English garden, all the little shrubbery and bushes cut into animal shapes or perfect geometrical shapes of circles, squares, triangles, this and that, and this, and everything in its place. And I'm like, okay, that's beautiful. And then Spirit says, okay, contrast that. That's man's hand. Contrast that with the reality of wildflowers, fields of wildflowers, just overgrown. The beauty of that, the unadulterated, untouched beauty of that kind of wisdom. that doesn't need to be managed, that doesn't need a narrative, that doesn't need to be controlled, that doesn't need to be boxed and fixed and labeled and perfect, photoshopped, pristine, white privilege happening, so that this is the magazine presentation of what everyone should ascribe to. This is the standard. This is the lifestyle. This is the look. Okay, and that look could be, like I said, that's on the outside of what's in that house. What's going on in that house? Whoop, baby. Grandpa molesting the granddaughters. The husband cheating on the wife. The wife cheating on the husband. The maids just stealing. The this and the that and the that and the this and the this and the this and the that and the this. All of this chaos going on. But all you see is the beautiful garden. And it's so, ooh, that's so pretty. They're so, they got all the colors just right. Everything is perfect. That's perfect. That's what I want. That's what I need in my life. They are so privileged to have that. And I want you to go back to the biblical times. And I want you to think of Solomon, the most wisest man that there was, and got to build temples, and who he came from, and all of this, and living in palaces, and having slaves, and concubines, and 1,000 wives, and all of this. But, baby, the reality was tore up from the floor up. The Egyptians, beautiful, tore up from the floor up. All these different civilizations. Babylon, hanging gardens, baby, tore up from the floor up. The beauty is surface. It's only skin deep. Because that mind, that sadistic mind, knows how to serve your predilections, your desires, your fetishes. It knows how to serve and provide for your addictions, your narcissistic narratives of control. From the most minute to the largest. Spectrum and frequencies. And we are so whipped by the sadistic mind into this masochistic relationship of what our identity, what our prescribed identities, what our received identities from the mind is. That we, as a species, have begun to ignore existence itself and what it takes to maintain a healthy existence versus a superficial, artificial, simulated existence. That's the purpose of the Matrix, to show you the difference. We so distracted by the woman in the red dress that we don't see the mess. And it is only when we become new, Neo, the one, shedding, divesting, disintegrating, eliminating all the mental thoughts, identifications, boxes, chains, handcuffs, pencils, shears, scissors. There is no creating better than existence. That's like the story of Satan the devil saying he can outdo God in creating and in maintaining what was created when you have two different spirits, and the two different spirits have two different visions, and the two different spirits have two different hearts. One is destructive, manipulative, narcissistic. The other is unconditional love, period. And it is from these realms that we engage in our own experiencing existence. Which means, beloveds, we have the ability to change the world by changing ourselves, by changing the role that we've given the mind, by changing, we've given the mind the privilege of ruling, of being the ruling body, the ruling force, the ruling source. We've given logic the ability to determine outcomes rather than wisdom. And it's time that we reverse that. But we have to come to the understanding of it first. We have to see it. We have to recognize it. And we have to be forgiving of ourselves for allowing the mind that is very, what was that, the snake? Cunning, the most cunning. So don't feel like you're a fool. It's a good thing to be a fool. A fool can always learn. It's only when you become so rigid that you know every damn thing that you can't. Let me keep going. The judgment, the arrogance, the unapologetic superiority complex of a privileged, indulgent mindset. Let me just say this, beloveds, because I have, like I said, I've been with these cycles and seasons that are here, and just observing everything that's been laid out on my table, and me putting together and making it make sense. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, well, if it's not about belief, but okay, we're going to write this story, this narrative, and if we have a representative from the future, thousands of years into the future, arrive in the 20th, the 19th and 20th centuries in order to make changes, allow your mind to go to where this white privilege mindset has taken us thousands of years into the future. Okay? That's why everything we produce has an apocalyptic, dystopian, fucked up AI in our face kind of reality. Because we're projecting and we're seeing what we're producing, but we're not realizing it. Okay? And so you have these beings or this perspective that is now come to you from the future, and it says you have to change. We can't tell you what to do. We can't tell you how to do it. We can't tell you who is going to do this, that, and the other. You know how, like in Terminator, you had very specific, well, this company did this, and this particular person is the one who stopped this company, and so forth and so on and so. This is much broader and bigger than that. This is each individual must do their part and must realize they are part of the collective in order to bring about the change that's necessary for thousands of years into the future. Because we're going to self-destruct again. We have so many Akashic records of self-destruction. Mu, Lemuria, blah, 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 Atlantis, la, 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 la. Okay? And so, what is the message from all of these messages, beloveds? Let me see if this will help, because that glare is getting on my nerves. Okay. No, I need the light. Now, about to see me slowing down and going in slow motion. So, it is what it is. Okay. Into this future scenario that is teaching us that this mentality of these beings that have come from the future saying to us, well, we don't litter on the planet. We maintain this pristine, horticultured, well-sculpted garden. Can't you see it? How beautiful it is? We leave it better than we found it. There's an arrogance in there that says the original architect did not know what they were doing. And so when we came and we adjusted this and we adjusted that and we injected this and we transposed this and we transferred that and we transmuted this and we transplanted that and we put this here and we put that there, we left it better than we found it. It was wild. We gave it order. We gave it symmetry. We gave it beauty. We civilized it. We conquered it. We improved upon it. You enforced your will upon a canvas and gave it your interpretation of existence. You molested it. You contaminated it. You caused decay and disease. That's like the Tower of Babel, where they were building something beautiful up into the sky, and the Elohim said, oh my God, we must stop them before they become like us or think they're as good as us, privilege, white privilege. And so we're going to confuse their language. And once that was done, what happened upon the earth? Wars and chaos, competitions, this God and that God. This preference and that preference. The mind became overgrown and drunk on its own need and addiction to control. Like I said, everything is a mirror. And everything you see, you are to observe. And as Bruce Lee says, take what helps you or nourishes you and leave behind what does not. Moving forward, the unapologetic superiority of that privileged mind, beloveds, that kind of cunning mind is exemplified in the aspect of existence presented to us as Donald Trump. Do you see him remorseful for what he has caused? For the anxiety that he has stirred up in human beings? For the unrest that he has caused? For the loss of life that he is responsible for? He and those like him. This is white privilege. It is not just the color of their skin. It is the idealization of their minds. That they are superior. That their way of thinking is superior. And this is that warrior outlaw energy. Synergy. Narcissistic, self-serving, dominant, alpha, rule me, roll me, daddy kind of bullshit that has led us to this moment. And we are being shown, we are being given the time and the ability and the capacity to get out of this mindset, to walk away from it, to change course, to navigate and recreate from the blackness, from the beginning, before the separation, from the riches, from the unconditional love of the womb. The preparation, the sacred space. The Holy of Holies, the temple within the temple. The place of solitude and stillness, cosmic stillness, universal stillness. We're told to be reborn from this place. And in order to be reborn from this place, the old mindset, that old white privilege, dogma, doctrine, way of being must die. It must be left behind. And we can't be dragging up the bones and digging up the bones and trying to rebuild from them. No, beloveds. It's time to move into a different age, a different awareness, a different aligned frequency with creation, with nature. Unconditional love versus white privilege. That is something for you to look at as the polarities. That is something for you to look at as aspects of being present within each and every one of us to many different extents and multiverses and seasons and cycles. We indulge unconditional love just as we indulge white privilege. We wish to embrace unconditional love just as we wish to embrace white privilege. They are spectrums, they are polarities, they are frequencies, and we have to come to ground zero within our own individual, unique representation of what that means in our, by the example of our existence. And it is not about judging another human being or anything else that emerges from the recreation or recreation or regeneration or restoration of a paradise condition, pristine paradise condition, untouched by the interference of cunning, perfect in its state, in its natural state, not ashamed of its natural state, not ashamed of its immaturity, not ashamed of its maturity, not ashamed of the sagging, of the gravity, not ashamed of the bodies, because existence is beautiful. And existence is about unconditional love, form and formless. So don't get so caught in the cage of your sadistic mind that needs you to be its slave. And baby, I can tell you, my mind has, I've made videos on this. And my mind has had me depressed, repressed, obsessed. Okay? My mind has colored me and rolled my back like I was a beast of burden. And here I am, in God's own image, denying my inheritance because of my mind. This is all that I'm saying. I am not saying any of this to point fingers at anyone, because we are all striving. Everything is synchronistic. Everything is rising, arising, and falling away as it should in this now moment. And being present with it. What's present with it? Is it your mind that's present? Is your mind more present than your spirit? Is your mind more present than your physical body? Is your mind more present than your emotional body? Have you stopped feeling because your mental says that's what you need to do in order to exist? I've done that. I've become numb. I was numb. Your mind, you're an introvert. You're this label, you're that label. You stay in this box, you stay in that box, you'll be safe. That's not living. That's not existing. That's being controlled. Let's go on a little bit farther, beloved, to the last point that I wanted to make. And then that's the end of this video. Observing existence from the grounded spiritual conscious awareness of unconditional love, understanding the universal laws bring us right back to it. Understanding that universal laws are designed so that they bring us right back to unconditional love. We stray from unconditional love. Universal laws bring us right back there. And this is wisdom. It's not logic. It is knowing. There is no doubt. This is the circle of life and the circle of love. This is the spiral. We're going to come always, no matter how far down we go, no matter how high we go and have to fall back down. We're always going to be brought back to the conscious awareness of unconditional love. Because that is the truest identity. That is the original form. No matter how much we change, no matter how much we grow, no matter how much we've been rearranged, no matter what system is put in place or what civilization takes over or how we've been conquered or why we've been conquered, we will always come back to unconditional love. That is what we long for in each relationship. In the relationship that's most high is the one with ourselves. Because we cannot be in a relationship and relate to someone else if we are relating with ourselves from a standard of white privilege. We're saying to another being, well, you've got to, everything that you are, everything that you think you know about yourself, you got to let all of that go to fit in these little boxes that have been pre-designed for us as a lifestyle, as the curriculum to attain white privilege. White privilege being the prize. White privilege being the ceiling, the highest you can go, the elite of the elite, so to speak. And it doesn't matter skeletons, the bodies you have to bury. It doesn't matter who you have to step on. It doesn't matter who you have to snatch down. It doesn't matter who you have to put in their place. Doesn't matter whose feelings you have to hurt. Doesn't matter whose image you have to erase, knock the noses off of, and say they were slaves and they were stupid, and get rid of their languages and deny them their histories. Doesn't matter, because, hey, white privilege is that strong, conquering, warrior, outlaw civilization that's necessary so that everybody can, stand behind it and be protected by it. And it's at risk right now. It might not survive if you don't get behind it. Know thyself. In all circumstances, know thyself. And just as people say they don't litter and they leave things better than they found it, that is the epitome of arrogance. Sometimes families are whole and holy, and what is forced upon those families based upon the surgical precision boxes and superficial narcissistic attempts at control create all kinds of mishaps, monsters, misfits, mysteries, misogynistic tendencies. But from the point of view of the conqueror, or the one whose narrative it is, everything is perfect. Everything is precise. Everyone benefited from the superior white privilege point of view. There was no molestation. There was no rape. There was no destabilization. There was no subjugation. There was no genocide. There was no stealing. There was no cheating. There was no lying. And everything that happened should have happened because of white privilege deserves to be served in such a manner. Again, this video is called the Disintegration and the Elimination of white privilege. So this is, and this is so strange how this just came into my being, and it's such a wicked pouring salt on a snail and watching it melt down. That's white privilege. That's the example of white privilege the Spirit just gave me. Seeing a snail in the garden. But because you don't like the snail, it's ugly to you. It's slimy, it's nasty. Regardless of the purpose the Creator designed it for. You have the white privilege to have the possession of salt, and you use that salt on that being, on that aspect of existence, to dissolve it based upon your narcissistic, I'm maintaining my garden logic and mentality. And that's going to do it, loves. Like I said, I don't want this to be viewed as judgmental only. I want you to use your discernment and your judgment beyond your mental capacity. I want you to incorporate all of your body's wisdoms, all of which you were created, all of the privilege that was given to you in your design. I want you to bring it together into a new conscious awareness, unaffected and undisciplined by the mind, the sadistic mind. Make yourself new. Let the mind be reborn outside of those realms. Let it be no longer want the dominant role. Let that mind want to align with that spiritual body. Let that mind want to merge and integrate with that feeling body, those feelings, those emotions. Let it know that it needs the other bodies in order to be whole and holy. In order for it to be the one, it has to recognize the collective without judgment, but with discernment and observation of experiences that are born and manifested from them. Namaste, beloveds. This is Mother with Wisdom, Valerie Ames, and you can find me on Facebook, Valerie Ames. You can find me on Blog Talk Radio, Mother with Wisdom, MUTHAWITWISDOM. Thank you.